It is November 1st. Today was the NFL trade deadline. We got some big moves. We got some moves that we didn't have happen that we wanted to happen. Last night was trick or treat. Really felt like we got tricked on some of these trades today that didn't happen. Also, we get to listen to everybody argue about when Christmas music is officially about to start to be played or supposed to be played. And myself and Erik Beimfohr are going to give you the Midseason Best Ball Awards. Eric. We were sitting here waiting for certain trades to happen today and waiting. And I'm now hoping that the trade deadline got moved to 4 o'clock Western time because the hell are you doing, Browns? How are you not trading one of these running backs? Get them out of there. Everybody else got traded today. You couldn't trade Kareem Hunt or Dearness Johnson?
I can't believe it.
Bags?
I can't believe it. The Nyheim Hines bags might have got saved. I don't know. We'll see.
All right, I'm pissed about that too. So these guys are drafting Nyheim Hines in the offseason. Like, oh, Nyheim Hines is going to be a great pick, blah, 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 blah. No one's talking about how much of an abject failure that was for the first 8 weeks.
He finally scored a touchdown, and it didn't matter because every other running back had like 30 fantasy points this week.
And now these clowns are getting bailed out because he gets traded, to one of the better offenses in the league.
Yeah.
And I have to like sit here and just be like, my process was right. I knew he wasn't going to be the guy. But yet these slappies are getting bailed out with this trade. And I'm really stressed out about some of this.
It sounds like you are stressed out. Like any good award show, there's always a soliloquy at the beginning, and today's the perfect day to tilt about the trade deadline. But I do think it was fun. It was fun. I mean, the only thing, honestly, that the either Hunt or Dearness getting traded was the one thing that didn't happen that I'm like mad. I'm like actually mad about that. It makes no sense. The Browns. And I understand maybe they think like, okay, they won yesterday, so they can like make a run or something, I guess. Mm-hmm. But like, if that's the case, trade Dearness Johnson.
Yeah.
Like even if it was somebody in the Discord was rightfully saying like, yeah, but look, a lot of these running backs aren't really bringing back anything in terms of value. I'm like, yeah, but he's a free agent after this year. It doesn't matter if you're getting a seventh round pick is more than 0 picks, right? It's like a $5 bill is more than more than nothing in your pocket. Is right. It great? Are you like, oh my God, it made my day. I got $5. No, it's more than 0. And so they have Jerome Ford, who they spent a freaking 4th round pick on, and they have a superstar in Nick Chubb. And if they were really intent on keeping Hunt, then trade Dearness Johnson. It doesn't make sense to keep both of those guys. They're both expiring contracts. They're probably both gone in the offseason. So at least trade one of them, whichever your view is. They shouldn't be going for it, first of all, which is probably the actual real issue. They should just trade Hunt because they're not going to win the Super Bowl with the Bills and Chiefs and stuff in the AFC. But either way, even if they want to go for it, that's fine. Then you should be trading Dearness Johnson. So that's the only one that didn't happen that I'm like truly upset about. I guess we could have like wished for some other stuff. Like I definitely didn't draft Brandon Cooks, so I don't give a shit that he didn't. I don't care that he didn't get traded. Most of the others
didn't get traded.
Yeah, exactly. Because I didn't. Yeah. I mean, he's dust on the Texans, so at least we can't get. If he got traded to the Chiefs or something, we would have been screwed. But I think it was fun. Like the Hawkinson thing, I did not foresee. I actually didn't foresee when we woke up getting the report that Hines was a lock to be traded. I was kind of surprised by that, and then I didn't actually think the Bills would do it, having drafted James Cook, but and then to just cast away Zach Moss and a 6th-round pick for Hines. Once I saw the compensation, I was like, well, yeah, now I know why they did it. It didn't cost them anything. So it was at least fun. I think a pretty fun trade deadline day.
And we knew the Bills wanted a player like this, so we probably should have known that it was a possibility.
Yeah,
as they were trying to sign McKissick, and Hines and McKissick are
and then draft
the same
but
guy.
the drafting of James Cook, right, was like
right, and that was the
like
next point.
The smoke. It was like the smoke that was like, okay, they want this guy, but is James Cook, like, are they willing in their Super Bowl window? Right, Josh Allen has a long Super Bowl window, and a lot of their guys have a long Super Bowl window, but like, how many more years is Gabe, or not Gabe? Well, actually, maybe. How many more years is Stephon Diggs, like the elite of the elite wide receiver, right? Some of their defensive guys are Matt Milano. Some of these guys are not going to be superstars forever. And so were they willing to be like, yeah, James Cook is fine, or just take the lock of like, look, we know Nyheim Hines is a good pass catching back, so let's just do that. And I wasn't sure. I really wasn't sure, but clearly it made sense for a 6th-round pick, and Zach Moss wasn't even playing. That's the D'Ernest. They did what the Browns should have done with D'Ernest. He's not playing for you, so ship him off to something to get something for him.
Yeah, and the last one I'll hit on is for now, we might catch some of these in the award part, but the 49ers shipping Jeff Wilson over to Miami, which, facilitated Chase Edmonds going to Denver, which I'm sure we'll get into, but CMC is now the clear. Like, everything just all paths lead to CMC being the smash for the rest of the year now, right?
If you had a top whatever pick, it's you hope you took CMC on that on that team, because he's lapping JT. That's not even close. Like, CMC is going to project for like 10 more points every single week than JT is. And even Kupp is awesome. Jefferson's awesome. Chase, when he comes back, will be awesome. But like, Kupp has real concerns about, like, the Rams are in trouble, man. Like, they're bad. And he got his ankle rolled up. It's like, if they get to the end of the year, and it's, this is a best ball show. If they get to the end of the year and they're not in it, they're not going to play Cooper Kupp in week 17. So I have concerns about Cooper Kupp, and I do not for Christian McCaffrey. Like, the Niners are just going to roll. I mean, look what he had a passing touchdown, a rushing touchdown, and a receiving touchdown in his first like real full game with the Niners. He's going to go nuts.
The Rams are going to be I'm not going to say fun. They're going to be an interesting team when we start drafting these playoff best ball teams really soon. Like, because you want Kupp, but
because they can get in. Oh wow, they can
get in. And are they going to play someone that they can beat?
Right.
But you know what,
the Giants or something, right? They play like the Giants or something in the wild card, and it's like, well, yeah, but like, they can't. I mean, they can't beat the Eagles. They can't. They can't make it. They're not good enough to make a run. They can't beat the Niners. They can't even hold the Niners' jock. It's so.
And Debo wasn't even there.
Yeah, they don't even have Debo. Their offensive line's hurt. Their defense is hurt. The Niners are like,
Jimmy Garoppolo's their quarterback. It's a nightmare over there.
He's the second best quarterback on the field, and that's not even counting for Trey Lance.
Yeah,
McCaffrey's better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo. Only other one, real quick, before we hop into the awards. Claypool. What did you think about the Claypool thing?
It feels. I mean, I know that he's still young, and it's a building block for the future. But why weren't we doing this in the offseason if you're the Bears? Like,
I agree. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's fine. It makes sense. But again, Justin Fields, to me, of the 5 quarterbacks drafted last year, has always felt like the one that has a chance to be something. Him and Trevor Lawrence.
Definitely now.
Yeah, him and Lawrence are the two. And it looked like you were intentionally like hamstringing this guy.
That's good.
It's sad.
It's
sad
true. That's not. He's not even joking.
I know. It's sad that Claypool is younger than Velus Jones.
It's his 3rd year. It's Claypool's 3rd year in the league, and he's younger than the rookie that the Bears just picked.
Yeah, but they needed to do something like this. They needed a building block wide receiver. They got to draft one next year still. I mean, Mooney on the other side is going to be fun, but
get another guy. If they get another impact wide receiver, you have Mooney, Claypool. I know Claypool's only got one year left, but you
Yeah.
Say whatever you want about David Montgomery, but the combination of Khalil Herbert and David Montgomery is a totally fine NFL backfield. Cole Kmet is a totally fine NFL tight end. Mooney is a good NFL wide receiver. He's just not. He can't carry an offense that has Equinemius St. Brown on the other side and Dante Pettis and Velus Jones. But you start compounding these, like Claypool. Like Claypool can't carry an offense either, but you put Claypool next to Mooney, next to Kmet, add something else in the offseason. Now, like how we talked about the Bears this year, how like you would dunk on me for even ever drafting Justin Fields and Darnell Mooney and stuff, which is turning out to be smart, a good dunk.
Smart is meh.
Mooney's terrible. Fields is turning it around.
Fields is fine.
Yeah, Fields is fine. We
knew Fields might be fine because of the rush.
Yeah, he finally unlocked the rushing, which has been so awesome. But but next year, like you said, what we're going to talk about in playoff best ball with the Rams is going to be really fascinating. I think what we're going to talk about with the Bears for best ball next year, for 2023 best ball, is going to be pretty interesting because they finally are going to start to put together some really interesting pieces with a really interesting high upside quarterback.
I have one more quick rant. You are looking at the only guy probably and the 1 p.m. only slate in DFS this past weekend that had Alvin Kamara and AJ Brown and didn't cash.
Oh, geez. Yes.
And I didn't cash. Like, what the hell? How do I not cash? It's because of Justin Jefferson, you son of a bitch.
And he had like a bunch of yards in the first. He just died. He just stopped. Yeah. He just stopped scoring points. Yeah. I'm kind of trying to drag my feet, but while we're talking about it, we can.
I had a Mariota pit stack on this early only team, and it sounds like I should have been fine, and I wasn't. And I'm very salty about it.
Yeah, finally a Kyle Pitts week. What a fun week, by the way, for best ball. DFS is different, but yeah. Look at this. Look at this. You talk about.
Oh my gosh,
those teams. This was in the middle of the game, but shockingly, it didn't get better. It didn't. I guess there was 6 minutes left. But like you said, so Pollard ended up, scoring another long touchdown after this, and so did Foreman. But it was basically the fantasy God said, you just landed on 4 of the 5. No, with Washington, they weren't perfect, but you kind of needed the punt. And I know they were chalky, but whatever. 5 of the correct DFS guys you needed to have. Pollard, Foreman, Kamara. Absolute stone cold 3 running back smashes that you needed. Waddle ended up with 30-something. And Washington got the savings. And it's like, if you would have told me I could have 5 of the literally the nuts input into my lineup, and then a game stack with Devontae Adams, and it was leveraged, right? Olave was popular and Jacobs was popular, whatever. So I kind of leveraged off of that. If you could tell me I could have that, I would run it. I would have put. I might be bankrupt today because I would be like, fuck yeah, dude, wheels up. Like, how much money can I put into it? And the Raiders didn't get to midfield.
Yeah,
Derek Carr. They finally got there with whoever the backup is that came in. Derek Carr never got to midfield against the Saints, and they just gave up 40 to the Cardinals. The Saints did. Like, it was a total disaster.
Yeah. Sad day. I was watching that team. I'm like, how am I not winning money with this team? I don't need to be winning, but how am I not winning money? Like, so. All right. Are you ready to get into these awards that we are going to do? I did see someone in the chat bring up a good award that we should have done, which is the biggest bag I regret award.
Yeah, we can add it. I can add it during the course of this. During the course of this show. All right. We have 10. We'll make it 11 now, but we have 10 awards. That will be the 11th, and Rob and I we'll go back and forth on these awards. You also can feel free to put in the chat, whoever your guy is for this award. Maybe it will sway us. We have already got our picks together. Maybe it will sway us. Maybe it won't. But we're just going to try to have a little bit of fun with this. The very first award, again, of the 11 now of the 11 awards that we're going to do. Biggest bag is a really good one. Comeback Player of the Year. again, this is all best ball focused. So like, we're not trying to predict the actual real life NFL awards, but what player came back from a dusty season in 2021 to 2022? Rob, you get to go first.
Well, I took it as injury. And
it can be
took
anything.
it as injury and uncertainty.
Yep.
And the zero RB bros are going to hate me right now.
Oh no.
But it's Derrick Henry.
He was on my list.
Right? Like he came back. He's on a team that's like mid. Like they are the most mid team in the NFL right now, right? And he still can go out there and put up 200 yards on the Houston Texans like it's a video game. It's like, oh, Houston's on the schedule. I'm going to get 200 yards because that's what I do as Derrick Henry against the Houston Texans.
And they took the foot off the gas in the late too, yeah.
And he's fifth in the NFL on half-point PPR scoring right now among running backs. So we keep trying to, with your, gift you had today about Irv Smith, everyone keeps trying to bury Derrick Henry. And the hand, the fist, the body just keeps coming out of the ground, rising from the dead and grabbing you by your skull because you're such a weak, puny man next to Derrick Henry and crushing you to death until the next season when he continues to do it.
Derrick Henry was on my list, and I think he is a viable option and maybe a little bit more of a contrarian option. I agree with the chat. To me, it's definitely Saquon. Which is like probably the chalk answer as we're seeing because all the chat agrees with me. But to come back from multiple years of injuries, and not just multiple years of injuries, but a Joe Judge Giants offense, like we're going to get to some other awards that pertain to disastrous, NFL situations. He's been in that like his whole career. He had Ben McAdoo. He had Joe Judge. He blew out his knee. He had a serious ankle injury. He's had all of that. And now to come back and still be as explosive, probably as explosive as ever, give or take. And they have nothing on offense. Darius Slayton and Wan'Dale Robinson are the only guys getting targets. They don't even have a tight end anymore. They are a disaster. It is all on Saquon, and he's still producing. It's funny. We'll get to some of these other awards, but the Saquon finally got there later in the offseason, right? Maybe to the 1-2 turn. But like we started this year with like almost like mid third round Saquon. Yeah. And the field was just like not buying into Saquon, and he's just blowing that out of the water. So it's Saquon for me, but I think the Henry thing also makes sense.
Saquon was the other guy I was looking at, but I'm like, he wasn't really injured last year to the extent Henry was.
Not to the extent Henry, yeah. But.
So like I was just like, I felt there was Henry, and I figured you might end up taking Saquon.
Totally fair. Next award, just so we can kind of keep it moving, and of course keep putting your stuff in the chat, particularly when you agree with me and disagree with Rob. Next one. Biggest shit show. You can take this, and I'll like preface all the awards so that everybody in the chat can kind of get the gist of what we're going for, but it's very open-ended. Biggest shit show. I'd pick a player, pick an NFL team, pick a whatever. You interpret it however you want. The absolute biggest shit show in best ball through the first half of the regular season. Rob started the last one. I will start this one. God damn it. I'm a chalk donkey, apparently. Reading the chat. It has to be the Broncos. Mm-hmm. It has to be the Broncos. The Broncos go out and make the Russell Wilson trade. And not only was everybody like excited for everything Broncos, they had 2 wide receivers going in the top 4 rounds. They had a running back going at the 2-3 turn. They had another running back who everyone who said you couldn't draft the second round running back said was like the best value in all of best ball, right? You can't draft Javonte Williams because Melvin Gordon exists. So Melvin Gordon is a smash. That dude is not even going to be active on game days soon. They traded for they signed Latavius Murray and freaking Marlon Mack. Mike Boone will be back, and they traded for Chase Edmonds. Russell Wilson, I mentioned this on a show we did recently, is like the football version of Space Jam. The Monstars came down and stole this dude's power, and he can't even throw a forward pass, but he's still recording Subway commercials and, TikToks and saying, let's ride and all this total nonsense. He's a walking meme and the coach is a disaster. Everything. We thought Alberto was going to break out. He's not even active. Melvin Gordon and him are going to be holding hands here in a couple weeks on the sidelines. It's a mess, dude. KJ Hamler, you talk about ghosts with Will Fuller. You did a good ghost. Is KJ Hamler a ghost? The whole situation. They traded Bradley Chubb today. I can't imagine a worse disaster about a situation that it's one thing if like the Giants or the Jets or the Bears are a disaster or the Texans. This was a team everyone was excited about. Everyone. And they are the biggest shit show in football.
So I also sort of went with the Broncos, but I went a little more hyper focused on mine. I didn't go Broncos. I didn't go Russell Wilson. I went the Russell Wilson Subway commercials, as you alluded to. This is the biggest travesty in the NFL right now. Have you seen these commercials? They had Tom Brady last year. This guy doesn't eat bread. So and Russell Wilson, they had a guy that didn't eat bread doing sandwich commercials, and Russell Wilson's are still worse than Tom Brady's were. What is going on at Subway? Someone explain this to me. What the hell are you doing? You got him wearing fingerless gloves? It's the last time you had a sandwich with fingerless gloves on.
Hopefully never.
What are we doing, Subway? All right, that's my biggest bust of the best ball season.
I agree. Next on the docket, I think that was the next one. I just want to make sure I didn't screw it up.
Yeah. Yep. Coach of the year is the next one, and it is my turn.
Coach of the year, and again for a quick preface. Sorry, I'm thrown off. The Subway. I didn't expect the Subway rant on the awards show, but it was very warranted. And when you say like what the fuck is going on at Subway, like I think that's like very evergreen. You know what I mean? Like dude, they're selling $5 sandwiches. So Russell Wilson's probably a very fitting guy. Coach of the year is again very open to interpretation, but an NFL head coach that is kind of rewarding, right? If when you look at your team, you're like, thank God that guy is coaching the guys that I have on this best ball team or whatever. And it's your turn.
Yeah. So there's two clear guys for this for me with one honorable mention. So I'm going to lean to the one that I don't think you're going to take. And I'm going to go Nick Sirianni for the Eagles, because what was one of the main concerns of the whole offseason with the Eagles? They're like, yeah, but they run the ball. Yeah, but they run the ball. Yeah, but they run the ball. And we saw that Nick Sirianni, when he has the right personnel, knows how to implement that. And he's made Jalen Hurts one of the top. You need Hurts or Allen or Mahomes, it feels like right now, right? Those three guys, for the most part. Like, I feel like the winning best ball roster is going to have one of those quarterbacks. And Hurts was a real concern about that in the beginning of the year. No one would have put him as one of the top three. He would have made the list. I mean, Lamar's still there, of course, but I like Hurts a little bit better. The offense is better. Everything is better with the Hurts situation if they get pushed ever. And at least there's week 17 matchup. You know, we joked about week 17, but at least week 17 is a matchup that can push them, which is Dallas. So I'm giving it to Nick Sirianni for best ball awards because he's doing what he was supposed to do with this roster and making the passing game one of the best passing games in the league.
He definitely is. Do they play Dallas or do they play Dallas in week 16? Hold on.
Oh, is it week 16?
I'm double.
Oh, they played New Orleans. They played New Orleans.
Which
yeah.
In case I know that the Raiders looked like a middle school team against the Saints defense, but the Saints defense fucking sucks. So the Eagles are going to score a boat, and that is not something I would have thought going in. The Saints have had an awesome defense for many years. But the Eagles are just going to hang up. Yeah, Dallas week 16. Bears. Week 16. I mean, this schedule that didn't seem amazing before. Bears week 15. Cowboys week 16, Saints week 17.
Yeah, I love
all of a sudden, because Dallas has a good defense, but they can push them, right? Yep. Cooper Rush even pushed them just enough. Now Dak can push them, and maybe the Bears might be able to push them at least a little bit more than we expected. And the Bears defense stinks. Yeah, the Eagles look awesome. I agree. I agree with the chat. Most of the chat. The chat is on Brian Daboll quite a bit, which I think makes sense.
For coach of the year overall, yes, but for best ball purposes, no.
I was gonna say the problem with that is he's making the Giants competent, but not really for fantasy other than Saquon. He's actually running the shit out of the ball, which I don't blame him for because he doesn't have any. He's throwing the ball to David Sills and Richie James. He doesn't have because he wouldn't play Kadarius Toney. Exactly.
Yeah.
He won't throw the ball because he doesn't really have anybody to throw to. I mean, even his like semi-promising young tight end, Daniel Bellinger, is out. So I don't think for best ball, I'm not particular, other than Saquon, I'm not particular. Like even Wandale is like, you're not mad about whatever 16th round Wandale, but you're not like, oh baby, this is a smash. Like you would rather have Jamal Williams or Donta Foreman or,
and you would think you would be with the way that everything's shaking out in New York. And
yeah, you would think
you're still like meh.
Yeah, it's totally meh. So my answer is definitely Mike McDaniel. I think that what he's doing with the Dolphins is what like dreams are made of. And it's like we have this like mental block sometimes being in the fantasy football space of like sometimes we assume rational coaching when we shouldn't. Right? You get the crappy team. Joe Judge using Brian Daboll's predecessor. You're like, he has Saquon. They paid Kenny Golladay like $1 billion. They got all, they actually had some okay weapons. Kadarius Toney, right? We're Evan Ingram. They should be able to distribute it a little bit to those guys. And Joe Judge is running 3 straight QB sneaks back inside the 10 because he's scared to play offense. So we do it on the wrong side sometimes. This was the dream, and nobody really did it. People were scared of. They're like, Mike McDaniel's going to come over. He's going to run the ball, right? They paid Chase Edmonds. He brought Raheem Mostert in. They got a bunch of backs. It's kind of, people didn't trust Tua. So Mike McDaniel's going to do the Kyle Shanahan thing. And he has not done the Kyle Shanahan thing. They're a heavy pass rate team. Tua has been awesome. And they have 2 of the best 10, 15 weapons in the entire NFL on offense. And he gets them the ball in the ways you want him to get them. Like Tyreek Hill is never going to go a game like Jamar Chase will go with like 4 targets. It's never going to happen. He's going to manufacture touches for both Tyreek and Waddle, and he's going to make shit happen, and he's going to throw the ball. And so the Dolphins are just an absolute dream. If any team with Tyreek and Waddle, if it's like remotely decent, like I just feel like you feel good about it. They're like the CMC of wide receivers. There's other wide receivers too, but man, you just got to feel so good about having Dolphins on your team. Even Gesicki's not even he's playing like 50% of the snaps, and he's still getting there because McDaniel is just scheming up such good stuff on offense. They're so fun, the Dolphins,
and it's so concentrated. Like it's and that's what makes it real fun. Is it's Hill, it's Waddle, it's Gesicki, it's Mostert. It was Chase Edmonds in the beginning. Obviously, he's gone, so Jeff Wilson might come in and split some of that with Mostert. But he was the guy that I was right there with Nick Sirianni, so that's why I went Sirianni because I had a gut feeling you were going to go McDaniel. The honorable mentions Pete Carroll, and it hurts my soul to say. It hurts my soul to say, but he's proving us wrong in the way that he's allowing that offense to run for the most part. And it kind of showing you what Russ maybe was all along. So
I was going to ask, not to totally derail, but we got plenty of time. We can have this, at least this side question. What was the whole Russ thing a fraud, or is Geno just like good? And like, so like there's really only 2 possible scenarios, right? That are reality. Russ was obviously not like Baker Mayfield level bad,
right,
in Seattle, but was Russ kind of a fraud and propped up by the situation, right? Because they apparently they had good coaching. We've all shit on Pete Carroll for the last like 3 years, but I mean he's turning chicken salad into chicken shit with this team. Was it
reverse that?
Russ? He's turning chicken shit into chicken salad. You're correct.
Yes,
he's turning lemonade into gold or something. I don't know. What they're doing with the Seahawks is unbelievable. It's just like close to the same color. Just fucking deal with it. Was Russ propped up by having Doug Baldwin and DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and apparently a good Marshawn Lynch? was he propped up by that? And Geno is just kind of like stepping into the same situation and he's really not that good? Or is like, is Russ just like turned to dust and Geno is actually really good? There's kind of only a couple of paths, you know what I mean? And I don't have the slightest idea. I'm just very curious, like what the fuck happened with this Russell Wilson thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. He turned a little red wagon into a Volkswagen. So that's just your analogy was so weird. It threw me so off.
You're trying to sometimes you come up with an analogy on the spot and it's just absolutely horrible. I'm not an improv guy, so you're just spitballing. Yeah, and we're trying to talk about Russell Wilson. I'm still thrown by the subway thing. Let's move on. Right. Let's move on to the next.
All right, so the best zero RB target is for you to start.
This is actually a really, really interesting one, I feel like. And I cheated a little bit because there's a guy later I want to give a different award to. So I went Ramondre. I went Ramondre here for zero RB. He's like everything you absolutely dream of. We talk all off season about stupid week 17 and the playoffs and contingent value and all that kind of stuff. But the gold mine of a zero RB pick is the guy who has value the whole season and then just takes it over. You know what I mean? Like Ramondre from week 1 was putting up useful fantasy scores in a timeshare with Damian Harris. And then eventually, basically over the course of the last couple of weeks, he's just cucked Damian Harris. It's going to be now more, let's call it 65-35 on the Ramondre side or 60-40 or something like that. And you still have contingent value, as we saw when Damian Harris missed a game. You still have contingent value for Ramondre. And so he's just like this perfect. There are other guys that have been really good too. You'll probably have one, but he's just like the absolute.
God, I hope so.
He's just like the absolute stone nuts where you get from week 1 to week 17, assuming health, you get like, it's like this. He's just continuing to get better and better and better every single week.
Yeah. So for me, it's Josh Jacobs. And I think that the Josh Jacobs thing, obviously he didn't have a great game this past Sunday against the Saints, but not every player is going to smash every week. It's just, other than Cooper Kupp, it just doesn't happen really, Yeah. And we were getting mad at Cooper Kupp when he only scored like 20 points last year. So, right.
Yep.
So it's definitely Josh Jacobs. And I think the Josh Jacobs thing is showing what our edge could be next year, where it wasn't just Josh Jacobs. Derrick Henry was still going in the first round, but people were so down on him. They were letting him fall sometimes to the beginning of the second. And there's another guy we're going to talk about that people did this with. I think that the overall hatred for these non-pass catching running backs, not Josh Jacobs, but in general, is gone a little too far. And it's allowing you to build some teams that are just super powerful getting in there to the playoffs and beyond. So right now it's Josh Jacobs, and he fell too far. He probably fell too far, and we all allowed it to happen. And my Josh Jacobs percentage isn't great, but it's still decent from what I recall. But I should have been sharper, and I should have been on it more. And it was one of the ones that I let fall. So
good for you. Mine's my percentage is embarrassing, and I agree. It was he was definitely part of the lesson. I think he was the other guy that I would consider, and then some of the folks in chat are Jamal Williams. I think I agree. Jamal Williams went later than both of them, like a lot later than both of them, and we knew it's kind of the same thing as Josh Jacobs in a even less sexy version. Nobody really is excited about Jamal Williams as a football player. Like, he's whatever, he's a replacement level running back, but we knew he was going to get the ball.
Yeah.
We knew the Lions were going to score points. We knew it was a timeshare, right? Everybody does Javonte versus Melvin or whatever, right? Everybody does the Brees versus Michael Carter. Everybody does that. Nobody blinked about DeAndre Swift in the second round and Jamal Williams in the like 15th round or
I
whatever.
blinked.
Like, no, but yeah, he
I
was an
couldn't draft
awesome.
Swift. I couldn't do it. So
He was Jamal Williams was a great pick. It's not just revisionist history. It's the run out has been good, but the thesis was correct the whole time. He's one of people talk about Josh Jacobs because he had the 3 like monster weeks. Jamal Williams is on the number 1, the highest scoring team in Best Ball Mania 3 right now has Jamal Williams, not Josh Jacobs, because Jamal Williams just churns out good weeks. He scores 20 points like half the time, and he churns out reasonable weeks every other week. And so Jamal Williams has been incredible for Best Ball, and I don't really foresee it continuing. Swift's already talking about he's not healthy.
right.
He played this week, but he's not healthy. So until maybe they shut it down, then that's the concern for Jamal Williams. But he's going to be great for at least another month and a half.
All right. This brings us into our best robust RB target. And the other guy I wanted to talk about was Nick Chubb. So this goes into, I mean, it's fine. We have the same one, but this goes into that same argument of like, we were just pushing guys down for no reason. And maybe Chubb's even more of an oversight than Josh Jacobs was. They're probably both on the same level, but we know what Nick Chubb is, right? We know superstar first round talent, but nobody wants to be the guy, juggling the Nick Chubb bag at the end of the day. But we're still taking Dalvin Cook at the end of the first round and Derrick Henry, who I still think is fine, but I'm just comparing Cook and, you compare Chubb to Henry and it's fine. But like the guys we were taking at that tail end of the first round, like, what are we doing? How are we letting Nick Chubb fall to the third round sometimes in drafts? He was like a late second, early third a lot of the year. And we were just letting him go. We were just like, I think I'll take a chance on this awful wide receiver that, I can't think of one off the top of my head, but like a Terry McLaurin level, who's not even a bad player, but like, do you want Terry McLaurin or do you want Nick Chubb? And how did we not just say that to ourselves and be like, oh, I want Nick Chubb, obviously. But no, we were almost like too attached to the structures. Maybe we were like, and structure matters. So I got to figure out how I word this without sounding dumb. But like
I already did that. Try an analogy.
Yeah, it's like turning lemonade into, a November sidewalk in Minnesota. What the hell are we doing? Basically what you said earlier. So
I mean, sounds good.
Yeah, it's great. So
put it on a shirt.
Nick Chubb is clearly the best robust RB target, and I feel like we should have known. We should have known that he was the best target in general.
This was the easiest one, honestly.
Yeah.
He is definitely a better version than Josh. There were actual real concerns for Josh Jacobs. Like I'm not saying he should have got he was a mistake getting pushed down as far as he did, but having trepidation on Josh Jacobs was not. It's hindsight to say you shouldn't have had trepidation on Josh Jacobs. Nick Chubb, I don't know, man. If we were concerned about Jacoby Brissett as his quarterback for 11 weeks or whatever, he played with Baker Mayfield. He's played with Baker Mayfield his whole career. Yeah. Like there's no difference. Yeah. If anything, it might be an upgrade. Nothing was going to change for Nick Chubb. He was just going to keep being awesome. The only I guess concern was he probably can't. There's not really a scenario in which he can be the RB1 overall, right? But you weren't drafting him as such. No. If we're drafting whatever, pick a 5th round running back, Breece Hall. People liked Breece Hall. It was totally reasonable. He was going to be awesome. But Breece Hall couldn't be the RB1. Not the overall RB1. Could he be a smash? Yes, absolutely. He can't unless literally everybody else gets hurt.
Yeah.
Breece Hall couldn't have been the RB1 this year. Again, he could have maybe top 5, sure. But that's what Nick Chubb can do. Nick Chubb can be a top 5 running back, and he's doing it. And we just, because because he's just this same old Nick Chubb every single year, crushes, doesn't catch passes, runs for 100 yards every week, scores double-digit touchdowns. We just like lump him into this spot and we push. Like Najee Harris is going in the top 10 and Nick Chubb's going in the early third round.
Yep.
Like that doesn't make any sense. And so I feel kind of happy that honestly, both of the last 2 years, Chubb was one of the guys, I don't have a ton because of the way that I draft. I mean, I was taking some wide receivers and tight ends and stuff there. Shout out Kyle Pitts. But the Chubb stuff was one where I'm like, let's not fall into this trap where you're like, oh yeah, he's just a running back who doesn't catch passes. I can't draft him in the third round.
Mm-hmm.
I think that your point about maybe the industry becoming this like archetype whores, where it's like, we either want the young guy who we don't know, right? Travis Etienne and Breece Hall, we don't know yet. So we'll draft them. Or we want the guy like Najee who catches passes. He's gonna play every snap, which he's not, by the way. He's gonna play every snap.
Mm-hmm.
And then we throw the actual, like, maybe the best running back in football. We're like, fuck that guy. We're not gonna draft him. Like that's a gap, I think, still in the whole best ball space.
Yeah, I mean, and you could have started a majority of a decent amount of your drafts if you were drafting early. Some sort of Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Nick Chubb combo, right? Or for most of your drafts, not every single one, because Chubb would go in the second sometimes, but there's a healthy majority of your drafts that you could have done something to that effect. Or, Chase, AJ Brown, and then bring it back with Chubb. Like, you could have done stuff if you were drafting in the front half. So
my real quick, my very best CMC team. Now it has Trey Lance, so it's dead. It's like dead to win.
Yep.
But I did a show earlier today where we were reviewing teams, my teams, other people's teams. Hugues is in the chat, has the number 4 team in Best Ball Mania 3, and he shared that with us, and it is like absolutely insane. It is such a good team. But I was walking through like CMC teams because, like you talked about, he's just such a smash that, like, seeing what, because he isn't the best top 2 round pick or whatever. So what does a CMC team look like and how live is it? My best team is CMC, Chubb, Saquon. CMC at the 102, and then Chubb, and then Saquon. Yeah. I ruined it with Trey Lance, but the team is killer if it had literally anything else but Trey Lance. And so, but anybody could have had that team early in the summer. CMC, Chubb, Saquon, and like we all just said, no, I don't want that. I don't want that team.
Right, and that there's a lot of things that shows that we don't need to get into, but like drafting early is important because you could have never got that team late, but getting that combo of running backs is silly, kind of, for the most part. So this brings us into our biggest bust for the best ball season. And this is you to start.
Because I'm too prideful, I won't say Kyle Pitts, but he was right in contention for me. And I'm terrified that the chat is going to all pick Kyle Pitts. And I'm terrified that you're going to pick Kyle Pitts because I'm holding some serious bags. But I really do actually think it's Najee. I think Najee Harris is the biggest bust. I think that
this is a fucking cop-out answer by you to go Najee over Kyle Pitts. You didn't draft Najee.
So I didn't say he was who fucking said the award had to be who I drafted. Let me I'm holding a W for a second. I got L's all over the place. I drafted Trey Lance, Javonte, Kyle Pitts, Darrell Henderson is my highest owned running back, and the Rams. You and I could block better than the Rams offensive line. I need a W one time, and Najee was a dude who I did not. Hold on, this is funny though. By the way, Gabe Davis in the chat saying hello. So I will say, if I was being impartial, Kyle Pitts is probably, we're 1A, 1B here. But I do, being serious for 2 seconds, Najee got propped up to the first round.
Yeah.
Kyle Pitts was a 2-3 turn pick. Some people were taking him over Mark Andrews, which ends up being horrible. Some people were taking him over Nick Chubb. Don't ask me if I ever took him over Nick Chubb, because I'm sure I did. The Kyle Pitts thing was terrible. Najee Harris was a first-round pick. Some people took him over Travis Kelce. Some people took him over Stephon Diggs. Like Austin Eckler. All these guys. Tyreek. A.J. Brown. Like the absolute smashes of all smashes in fantasy. People took Najee Harris over him because they said, he's going to touch the ball a lot. He's going to get a lot of touches. He was the biggest fallacy. I would rather lose betting on the next breakout young player that I know is good than lose betting on a first round pick who I'm just praying to God can accumulate enough points getting 3 yards per carry in a shitty offense. That he was the worst. He was the worst thesis for sure in the first few rounds. The worst thesis in best ball, even worse than the Kyle Pittses of the world. Then we've talked about CD and stuff where it was just awkward. Najee didn't make sense to me then, and I think now it's just proving the flaws of drafting in that way.
That was a pretty good monologue, and as you were doing it, the only thing I could think of was this is Erik Beimfohr's and one mixtape, and his only opponent is Felix. Like he's just dunking over Felix for 5 straight minutes on this monologue. So RIP to Felix in the chat, if he's in the chat.
A good question. A good question from Mark. Pitts.
Is there more hope for Najee or Pitts? It's Pitts, right?
Just had a big game.
He just had a big game. Atlanta's somehow in their divisional race.
They're first. They're first.
Which is, if you had told me that at the beginning of the season, I would have been like, nope, I don't believe you. You're a liar. That is absolutely crazy. So for me, my biggest bust, we have to go back to Denver. And I'm not just going to say the Denver Broncos. I'm not just going to say Javonte Williams. I'm not just going to say Russell Wilson. I'm not just going to say Nathaniel Hackett.
Oh, no, I know.
I'm going to say Nathaniel Hackett's parents. Why are you allowing this? You can do something. You have a direct line to this man. You see what he's doing. You're watching your child, like, get his prized possession. Like, Nathaniel Hackett is the guy in high school, right? He gets his license, and the very first car that he ever gets is a Porsche. He's handed a Porsche for his first car. And guess where you see him? In the slow lane on the highway doing 50. Every time. He can't even drive the speed limit. And you're his parents, and you can't call him and be like, son, I think you need to put your foot on the gas just a little bit more. We want to, like, it's a Porsche. Like, you don't have to go 120, but can you go the speed limit? Can you do something with this offense? Can you fix it? Come on. So yeah, my biggest bust is Nathaniel Hackett's parents right now.
We've improved our analogies over the course of this show. Everybody can give us that. We started really low. The bar was really low. You've upped the game. Would you say that running Latavius Murray 20 times in an NFL game is the equivalent to driving your Porsche as a 16-year-old in the slow lane?
It's got to be, right? Like, can you imagine?
Murray is. I actually don't know exactly how old you are. Latavius Murray is older than me, and Hackett is running him into the back of an offensive line in an NFL game almost 20 times instead of, look, Russ sucks. I get it. He's probably trying to hide him or whatever. But you have Russ, bad team. PJ Walker's throwing 40 times in like shootout games. They have Jerry Jeudy, Cortland. PJ Walker's throwing to Visca, and Tommy Tremble, and they're scoring like 40 balls. He has Russell Wilson, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton. Even if you throw aside Alberto, Dolchich looks awesome. Mm-hmm. Throw the fucking ball, dude. Yeah. what are we doing with this Latavius Murray shit? This is out of control.
It's just to go back to the Porsche analogy. So they're in the slow lane. Nathaniel Hackett's driving. Russell Wilson's in the passenger seat. The two of them are having a grand time. They're singing show tunes together. And Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton are in the back, and they're just looking at each other going, WTF, what is going on right now? Why are we in this car? Why are we in this Porsche? I'd rather be in a Toyota Corolla going 80.
They're definitely eating a Subway sandwich, but using it as the microphone.
Yeah.
You know, they're singing the show tunes, but they have this shitty, god awful sub sandwich, that these two millionaires are eating. We could talk about the Broncos with all these negative sentiment awards for hours. It's so, everything about it is so bad, but that was very good. Let's hit the next one.
Nathaniel Hackett and Russ Wilson definitely just listen to TV show theme songs while they drive. That's all they listen to.
So I'm catching up on the Always. I don't know if you ever watched Always Sunny in Philadelphia. They have a podcast and it's excellent.
Yeah,
I'm catching up on it, and I find that they're like segues in between segments. Mm-hmm. Is their music. Mm-hmm. I find myself humming throughout the day like that. So it made me feel really triggered when you said that, because I'm like, God damn it. I kind of did that. I kind of did that earlier today. I'm walking the dogs, humming Always Sunny clips. Next one, best draft strategy. I do think this one is actually, a lot of these have been kind of probably a little straightforward. This one's pretty interesting because you could construct a really good team with any draft strategy, but I'm wondering what your thoughts are on kind of what you think the best one was.
I'm going to stay on brand for this one, and I'm not saying it's going to be the same for next year, but I think Elite QB was the proper draft strategy for this year, because I think so it's we're starting to get into the matrix, but within Elite QB, you can still construct other types of, constructions as you go forward. You can still do your 0 RB. You can still do an anchor RB situation. But I think going Elite QB, I really feel that this year particularly, you needed to go Elite QB to win. And maybe I'm proven wrong at the end, but I think more likely than not, you're going to need one of those guys that I hit on earlier.
I think there's only a couple of candidates to debunk your thesis, and it is Tua.
Mm-hmm.
Tua Fair. Is definitely proving that he can compete. I'm not saying he can beat, right? When we get to week 17, can he beat all those guys? But he might be able to compete. And then the guy, the fucked up thing about best ball is when you do get to week 17, it is kind of we joke about it, but the guy you need to have, mm-hmm. That does play itself out, right? Jamar Chase, if you didn't draft Jamar Chase in the 4th, 5th round last year and you made it to the finals, your team could have been awesome, but you were dead.
Yeah.
You could have you could do okay, but you couldn't win the tournament. And that can be the kid that has a cascading effect with quarterback. It's if you took Josh Allen and the guy you need to have is T. Higgins, then that then makes Tua more valuable, right? So if Tua scores 25 mm-hmm. points and T. Higgins has 40, Josh Allen gets kind of pushed down and Tua gets pushed up or whatever. So I think Tua has a shot, and this is maybe me being a prisoner of the moment, but I kind of think Justin Fields has a chance to do that. He plays the Lions in week 17, who is a fantasy gold mine for everybody. And they're running him so much that I could foresee 100 yards rushing and 2 rushing touchdowns. And, the stacking partner may not work, but I think Justin Fields has a chance to hang in there too, which is what we were really hoping for with Trey Lance.
There's definitely ways for it to be wrong, but when you have a full slate of games and you're looking at guys that can put up 40 at the quarterback position, it's Allen, it's Hurts, it's Lamar, it's Mahomes, right? It's your top end, and they're all playing that week. It's not like DFS where we're maybe I just have to fade Lamar this week, or I just have to fade Josh Allen this week.
It was just Hurts. This week it was just Hurts.
You're now saying that you need to fade all these guys, and you need the one guy on your team to go off, which is a possibility, especially with a guy like Tua right now, for sure. Not knocking that. It's a tough matchup against the Patriots in Week 17 in New England in the cold weather. Like that's going to be a tough spot for Tua to put up like a 30 or 40 point.
Definitely.
Game,
Fields
right?
is probably a better candidate now, which sounds crazy to even say out loud.
Right.
But I don't know, man. The way he's running and the Lions, I think it's interesting at least.
But I don't know if this is going to be a strategy we can use going forward to do this stuff based on what we've talked about in the past that we won't rehash right now. But so like for me this year, it's elite QB for now.
Mine is zero RB, which surprises no one, but it's actually not because of like all the typical zero RB stuff. It's very similar to what you said with elite quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
It is because of what I can do elsewhere
mm-hmm.
at zero RB and get like, do you want Kelsey? Would you like Travis Kelsey on a best ball team? My highest scoring team in all of Best Ball Mania 3 is Travis Kelsey just had a bye.
Mm-hmm.
It's a solo Travis Kelsey. I don't have a second tight end. It's my highest scoring team. I 8-0 this week, but I just, you got Ramondre and you got Miles Sanders and you got Pollard and you got all these running backs. Have Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, right? You have all these smashes on that team. And the only way you're able to, over the course of an entire portfolio, get that is by kind of committing to the zero RB stuff. It's almost like if you combined what both of us are saying, that's actually the perfect draft strategy. Like zero RB with elite onesies, elite wide receivers over the course of 150 teams, you're probably going to land on like some just absolutely bonkers teams, right? And so that's kind of it. I'm not trying to sit here and stand for zero RB, but I think the reason why it works is because at this point in best ball, people are obviously not willing to commit to it, which helps when this season plays out like it is.
Mm-hmm.
You get Ramondre, you get Ken Walker, you get weeks of Eno, you get the Tony Pollard 30-point week, you get Jamal Williams, and it plays out like this. And then like the edge of Kelsey and Andrews is so big, and the edge of what you said with elite quarterbacks is so big, and it's like it's compounding. All that, like one strategy compounds into all of that over your portfolio. So that's that. It would be zero RB for me, but I think there's a lot of ways to slice and dice that.
I mean, and we see people posting stuff in the chat about different strategies. Like every strategy is going to get through to the playoffs. Hell, every strategy is going to make it to the finals, right? It's just which one are you comfortable with getting through is what we're kind of talking about. So for me, it's obviously elite QB. Zero RB makes a ton of sense. Robust makes a lot of sense this year as well. Like in terms of some of the guys that you talked about, your CMC, Chubb, Saquon.
I have great robust teams.
Right.
I'm a zero. I have like 60% zero RB, and some of my also best teams are robust teams because you can build if you hit CMC, Saquon, Chubb, Kamara, all that. If you hit those guys, you can absolutely crush with the robust team. 100%.
And the funny thing of the juxtaposition between us right now is you just said that your best team is a solo tight end team. My best team is one of the few teams that I drafted 4 tight ends. Like I literally have 4 tight ends on my best team. It's like Noah Fant, it's either Gerald Everett or oh my god, the guy in Jacksonville.
Ingram
and Taysom Hill, and it's Cameron Braid who's hurt. But I drafted 4 tight ends on that team, right? So like to show the differences, you went 1 elite, I went 4 scrubs, and I think we've talked about it before, but I think that's the way to play tight end going forward. And
barbell
it might be the way,
baby.
Yeah, it's gonna be the way to do it. So let's get into our best rookie. And I think you start this one.
Yeah, this was a good one. One of my contenders for a zero RB pick was I deferred to the best rookie pick, and it's Ken Walker. And
same. I went with Ken Walker too. But
I think I really like the wide receivers. Olave has really surprised me. My dogs are fighting behind me in case I assume everyone can hear, but I can't hear them. I can only see them.
It's not too bad.
Ken Walker, the thesis of the Seattle backfield is just the stone cold smash, and he just kind of happened to be the beneficiary of it. So, say whatever you want about that. I really like Chris Olave. I really like Garrett Wilson, but he's like, if you want to win in best ball, if you're going to pick a rookie, you want Ken Walker on your team. Obviously, for the rest of the year, it's a little bit of contingent value, but that's the point. That's the whole point of drafting those kinds of running. Why did we draft Ramondre? Why did we draft Ramondre? He's in a committee, just like Ken Walker was, and he has contingent value, just like Ken Walker does. And he was pushed down. The Patriots guys were pushed down this way somewhat similarly, but he was pushed down because people were not in on Seattle. And like Brashad Penny and Ken Walker were both really talented, and Ken Walker was the second round rookie. And all it took was one injury and the entire market to be wrong about Seattle, and you have a top, where would you put Ken Walker? Top 10 running back in fantasy right now? For sure, top 10. Sure.
Definitely top 10.
And
he's probably top 7.
We could have seen it coming, right?
Yeah,
he's really good at football. He was a second round pick. All the things that everybody likes to check the boxes of, except going back to the Chubb and Henry and all that, he didn't catch passes in college. So people held that against him when we didn't hold it against Breece Hall or Travis Etienne or whatever. And so that's why he was just a smash. And I screwed that one up. I screwed him up too. I don't have a lot of Ken Walker. But he was a smash pick, and we probably could have seen it coming.
Yeah, so Kenneth Walker, for everything you said, was mine as well. Damian Pierce in Houston's really good. And my honorable mention was Garrett Wilson, because we were all hyped on Garrett Wilson before he got drafted. Then he went to the Jets, and we see why he got pushed down. As soon as Zach Wilson came back, like he's just ruining that offense. Like, it's sad that we want Joe Flacco back for there, but we have seen flashes of what Garrett Wilson is going to be in the future. And I'm excited about Garrett Wilson next year because people are still not going to draft him. And he has shown elite upside, in my opinion, already in the NFL. And we're going to probably get this guy 4th, 5th, 6th round, I'm guessing off the top of my head next year. And he's going to be a smash button almost every time in that range. So
he's so good.
He's so good.
He's really good. I know we got just a couple left. I want to hit a couple of these comments. This was funny. We'll get to a little bit of this. Draft the best draft strategy. Draft any tight end who also plays quarterback.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good. I mean, when you look back and you're like, hey, dummy, there's a guy in the 18th round who's going to play some quarterback at the position that they all suck. You're drafting Cole Kmet in the 11th round, and this dude is tight end eligible in the 18th round and is going to play quarterback. Maybe draft that guy. Yeah. This is also a good one. The difference, like, we're at the midseason, so I'm saying 0 RB, but like, I don't know how many more times to stay it. Like I'm rooting for my CMC. Like, I'm tracking my CMC teams because I legit think he's just going to blow away the field the rest of the way. So I agree with this. It could be a hero, it could be a hero RB team. With CMC.
I really like hero RB going forward, just because I think the positions, like we said earlier, is getting a little undervalued. And if that continues next year, I think hero RB might be a way that I lean a lot. I'll still have my 0 RB teams for the most part. But hero RB feels really good. Like, it just feels like if you heroed Nick Chubb again with anyone in the beginning, you're just smashing right now. So
Chubb, Saquon,
yep,
CMC, Eckler, Henry, even Henry. There was a bunch of options. Yeah.
I mean, even Leonard Fournette, who's had a pretty good year, right? Even if you heroed Fournette,
he's good enough. That's the perk of hero, is that he doesn't have to win you the league, but he's putting up points every single week. He's scoring touchdowns. He's catching passes. And so you can kind of lock in his 10 points, right? Maybe sometimes he's going to score more, but you're going to get that score from him. And then you can try to figure out Ramondre and Ken Walker and Jamal Williams and all that after.
Right.
This is just only Blur says no love for Olave. Lots of love for Olave.
Yeah.
Awesome. Another kind of whiff I had. I don't have a ton of Olave. I thought he was more of a role player, but just He just falls behind. I just think the impact of a Ken Walker pick is higher than the impact of a Chris Olave pick in best ball.
And Olave might be one of those guys that's like Garrett Wilson. He might be a little higher than him next year. He might be like a third, fourth rounder. But I think we're going to get an extreme value on him just based on the offense, and they could be upgrading that offense. The offense might be worse next year too, by the way. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, they're interesting. They traded they're like the Rams of trading away future picks. Best late round pick. Who did rookie first? Me or you?
You did, and then I just kind of let you go with it because we had the same one. So my thunder got stolen on this from the comments, but it's Taysom Hill, right? Like there's some other really good picks of this, like Jamal Williams, like we talked about earlier. But Taysom Hill, this particular year, is giving you an edge at a position that nobody has an edge at, like other than your Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews teams who could be dead if he's out for an extended period of time. Like you are picking up so much slack just by picking up Taysom Hill, even if you were getting him when he shot up the board a little bit, but you were getting him 18th round, like you said.
What's most the difference? Of the year.
Yeah. Right. What's the difference between a 16th and an 18th rounder? Like not much. So at that point, yeah, it's Taysom Hill. It's easy.
He was mine as well. Everything you said was spot on. All these awards, this is like, I'm like triggering myself because it's all like the dudes who I really wasn't drafting a lot of Taysom, but you look back and you're just like the floor of an 18th round tight end is like 0 for everybody. They're all useless. I drafted Trey McBride. I drafted Daniel Bellinger. I drafted Isaiah Likely. I drafted all these bums, right? And the way for them to win me the tournament was so impossible. Taysom's was just to be used like Taysom's always used.
Right.
You know, he doesn't even have to play a lot of snaps. He just needs to get goal line touches, which he gets every single week. It was a shout out to the Davis Maddox of the world who were on this already. And I know some people were giving Davis shit about it. And those people, just like me, we need to hold our L's about Taysom. He was the best late round pick in fantasy, arguably the best pick in fantasy, you know, bar none.
I think we're going to have different ones for this next one. If we have the same one, it's going to be interesting. But you get to go first on this one.
This one is by far the most wide open.
Real quick, just so the chat knows, it's not MVP of the NFL this year. It's MVP for best ball teams. Just a reminder.
So I'm piggybacking on your strategy, kind of our strategies together. And I'm going Jalen Hurts. Okay. And I think that he is probably not somebody that most people would say, but it has a lot to do with, again, kind of how I could construct the team around Jalen Hurts. Would you like a zero RB team with Ramondre and Ken Walker and Jamal Williams and these guys with Jalen Hurts? Guess what? You can have it because you don't have to spend a third round pick on Josh Allen.
Right,
to get it. Would you like Travis Kelce on your Jalen Hurts team? You can. Jalen Hurts is not Josh Allen, but he's pretty damn close. Right. And you can get that elite guy in the 6th round. So he is not necessarily the absolute, you know, best pick above replacement, right? Maybe that's Jamal Williams or Josh Jacobs or Taysom or something like that. Maybe it's one of those guys, like from a raw value perspective. But everything you could do with a Jalen Hurts team, and we saw this coming. Maybe it's because we've talked about the Eagles so much. We saw this coming. You could stack him with AJ Brown, who has obviously been a smash. You could stack him with Devonta Smith, who's cheaper, who's been good too. You could stack him with a tight end. We talk about how bad tight end was. Every path to playing Jalen Hurts is a smash. And that's where the value comes in, is like he's getting me everything I want at the quarterback position in the 6th round or whatever, which was also, by the way, a horrible zone for the draft. I'm not sure how many 6th round picks are even actually doing anything in fantasy. So every Jalen Hurts team looks good, not only because Jalen Hurts is awesome, but because his stacking partners all work. The Eagles are incredible, and the structure that you could build around Jalen Hurts was unstoppable. Like, you want a robust team with Jalen Hurts? It's probably winning. Like, every way you dream up a Jalen Hurts team is a total smash, and he's a total smash. And you get to week 17, and you got a Jalen Hurts AJ Brown stack. Are you feeling good? I am. I certainly am. So it's Jalen Hurts for me.
Yeah, and that's like my whole thesis behind the quarterback thing, right? Like, of why it's so important to take those guys in that spot. And we're not going to have it next year, so that kind of sucks. I'm going to go with a name that there's some really good ones in the chat. Like, people are saying Tyreek, which is obviously one.
He was definitely on. Yep.
Kelsey's on my board as well.
Yep.
I'm going to go with one that might like raise an eyebrow real quick until you think about it. And I'm going with Stephon Diggs as my MVP for best ball this year. And here's my reasoning why. I knew what I was doing through the first 5 picks, right? It was going to be one of the top 5. We had a top 5. My number 6 guy was Stephon Diggs and then Kelsey. So like, if we had a top 7, it would, put the top 5 however you want to put them, but then it's Diggs, Kelsey. So what I was doing with Diggs, because he would slide in drafts, is I'm taking him from the 6 to the 12 hole. He didn't always fall to the 12, but sometimes he fell down that far. So I'm getting Stephon Diggs from anywhere from the 6th spot to the 12th spot. So I have a ton of Stephon Diggs. My percentage on him is high, and every team's different because I'm drafting him from different spots constantly, right? So my Stephon Diggs portfolio amongst first round guys is much more vast than it is, again, with any other player in the first round, probably. So I think that Stephon Diggs is my MVP just based on what he's doing right now. He might even be wide receiver 1 or close to it, right? He's very, very close. I meant to look that particular thing up before we did this show, but he's absolutely crushing right now. And you can just look at your Stephon Diggs team and
he's wide receiver 1 if you take out Nuke.
Okay.
Who only played 2 games.
Right. So he's wide receiver 1 right now. And he was the 4th wide receiver off the board. And there were so many things you could do with him in terms of roster construction. He
has more fantasy points than Tyreek Hill, who people are saying is an MVP. And I agree, Tyreek Hill at the 2-3 turn is an MVP candidate. He has more fantasy points than Tyreek Hill in 1 less game.
Yeah. And he's just not getting the credit because he just always does it, right? Like, Stephon Diggs
scores 20 every week. He just scores 20 every week. He's insane. Yeah. It's absolutely insane. Look, I own more Gabe Davis bags than anyone on the planet. And I watch Stephon Diggs. I watch every Bills game. I watch Stephon Diggs, and I'm just like, yep, 100 and a touchdown. 100 and a touchdown. Every week, you're just like, yep, he did it again. He does it every week. He's the best player. Him and Josh Allen. Right. We can argue about that. He's the best player on the best offense that throws more than anyone else in the league. And we were able to get him, like you said, anywhere from 6 to 12, depending upon the draft, depending upon the site. DraftKings, if you played more on DraftKings, Diggs was the easiest guy to get overweight on. Sometimes you could get him in the early 2nd. It was fucking egregious. Like, he is an absolute smash. He's the wide receiver 1 that you got at the wide receiver 4 price, which, say whatever you want about that. But he unlocked, like you said, it's like the Hurts thing at a different position. I could get him whenever I wanted. You could absolutely get Diggs whenever you wanted. And he unlocked everything for your team. Do you want Saquon with him? Do you want Chubb with him? Do you want Andrews with him? Sometimes you could, on DraftKings, you could get Kelsey with him. I got Diggs Kelsey teams, which is a cheat code, an absolute cheat code. So I totally agree with the Diggs thing.
And we probably should have been taking him more in the top half of the draft spots too. I'm not saying every time, because we want to get our exposure to some of those guys in the front end. Like, we wanted our CMCs, we wanted I wasn't really crazy about Taylor this year, but we want Kupp, we want Chase, but mixing in a Diggs team just to get super unique with a Diggs team by drafting them, at the 103 or the 104, mixed in with getting him 6 through 12. And now when you look at your Diggs portfolio, it's unlike any other player in that first 16 picks, right? Because you could just do anything you wanted with Stephon Diggs. You wanted a Diggs Saquon team, you got it, right? You wanted a Diggs Tyreek Hill team, you could get it. Like any combination you wanted with Stephon Diggs was possible. So that's why I'm putting Stephon Diggs as my MVP.
I love that we took kind of the same route, different players, but it was the same route to MVP, where it was like people might say these motherfuckers are crazy.
They might people might.
Yeah, that is true. They do say that. Yeah. But they like everybody has different judgments for what they put on value, and that's totally fine. But people might say, this guy exceeded his draft cost by, which is probably like Jamal Williams. It's like Jamal Williams, Taysom, Ramondre, something like that, are like the guys that like exceeded their draft costs by so much with their production. But the real MVP is the guy that like unlocks the winning teams for you. And like, yes, Jamal Williams can help you, right? But like he didn't create the 0 RB team. You could draft Jamal Williams on a robust team and he's like almost kind of useless. Like, you know what I mean? Like you have Saquon and Chubb and these guys on a Jamal Williams team, it's really not beneficial. But when you draft the elite quarterback, or when you draft the wide receiver 1, way overweight the field, the value on those guys is just crazy. So I'm interested to see, we'll obviously do something like this again after the season is over. I'm interested to see kind of some of the differences, because clearly the MVP will be different. It'll be probably like whoever scores the most points in week 17. But I think I think this was a really fun exercise. It actually helped me to like kind of level my head about where everything is in best ball, thinking through these, like some of them are silly, but some of them are like the MVP thing was like, I could have just easily done, like you could just do Taysom.
Yeah.
And no one would bat an eye, but I think that probably isn't thoughtful enough.
And I'm going to fight Only Blur in the chat, who said, that's why I love Beimfohr, because he loved AJ Brown in the offseason just as much as I did. No other fantasy content creator was on top of that. What? Did you not see my percentages of AJ Brown? I'm at like 25% AJ Brown.
Okay. We're going to take Rob off because he's, I appreciate you, Only Blur. I agree with everything that you're saying right now. Good job. That's a great comment. We're going to bring that back up one more time.
The only guy is Erik Beimfohr. I'm sitting here with literally, over 20% AJ Brown. Like, come on. I did get to I think 24% AJ Brown. So I do appreciate the comment. Only Blur. I like to fuck around, but I am humble enough to know that I'm not the only person that was in on AJ Brown. But people were scared of Brown. People were scared of the Eagles. Yeah, for sure.
And it was like, I mean, shout out to our good friend Ben Gretsch, who is AJ Brown or die, and he's absolutely right. Like the dude is top 5 wide receiver in the NFL, and we were able to get him in the early 3rd round. Like, what the fuck are we doing? He's the Nick Chubb of wide receivers. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Right. Just take why is AJ Brown in the early 3rd round and CeeDee Lamb is at the 1-2 turn? Explain that.
Literally didn't make sense. It literally didn't make sense. And that was the one I kind of knew. Like, if I'm gonna like call myself out on not getting enough Chubb, the one I did know was AJ Brown over CeeDee Lamb, and I'm pretty happy about that.
This is awesome. Derek says, can we get a hurry the F up award for Jameson Williams? I agree. I would agree with that. I love Jameson Williams. We did. Let's get out of here with the biggest bag. We didn't do the biggest bag. Whoever recommended, shout out to you in the chat who recommended the biggest bag holder award, or however we want to phrase it. I can go ahead and go first. You would also think this might be Kyle Pitts, but Kyle Pitts is just goddamn blessed that he plays tight end. because he would be the answer to all these fucking awful. Biggest shit show, Kyle Pitts. Biggest bust, Kyle Pitts. It would be him if he was a wide receiver. Yeah, oh my god, it would be over. But biggest bag, for me, Darrell Henderson. We talked about this last week as well, a little bit. You get the thesis of Darrell Henderson right on the team that won the fucking Super Bowl last year. And they're like 1B to the Broncos in terms of shit show. They can't run. They're Ronnie Rivers is starting football games. They're playing Malcolm Brown over Darrell Henderson. The Rams are an absolute mess, and I really don't know how to see that one coming. I guess like I am kind of an O-line stickler, and that was like a concern, but not this level of concern. I didn't think it was going to tank the team to like, picking in the top 10. They're a mess, and you would think that having Darrell Henderson, Cam Akers is going to sit out the rest of the season. If I have 35% Darrell Henderson in BBM, this is like the dream, and he's useless. He's absolutely useless. So I'm sitting on 35% Darrell Henderson, and I might as well just punted that off.
I was real close to Cam Akers being my biggest bag because I thought we have the number one running back in one of what was going to be one of the better offenses. But I could never press the button on him. Well, not enough. I took some of him, but he was in the range of all the quarterbacks and some other guys that I liked. And I got
saved,
and I was
included by his ADP. Yeah,
I got saved big time because I was looking for ways to do it. I was like, how do I get more Cam Akers? Right? Like, and I never did it. Like, I never got to the level that I thought I was gonna. My biggest bag, it really hurts to say, and it's like injury related, but it's Javonte Williams. That bag hurts a lot because the capital that I was giving up around players that I really liked. Like I'm overweight on Tyreek Hill still. I'm still overweight on AJ Brown. I'm underweight on Mark Andrews, and a lot of that's because of Javonte Williams, right? Because they were going right in the same area, and I went overweight on Javonte. But I also know that this is like part of the strategy that I'm trying to employ, where I want to be overweight on guys. So I feel great that I'm overweight on Stephon Diggs. I feel great that I'm overweight on AJ Brown. But if I'm doing this strategy, there's going to be parts that hurt throughout the year. And the main one right now is Javonte Williams. I mean, D'Ernest is an easy answer, but we all knew we all knew the thesis behind that pick, right? Like, so I'm not going to, that's like the easy way out. Javonte Williams is the big one right now, but because he might not even be great if he was playing based on the way the team's going.
Yeah.
So I could still be saying that even if he's healthy. And
I'm putting honorable mention for me though for Trey Lance. These motherfuckers traded for Christian McCaffrey, and I drafted their quarterback who is the only thing he can do is like run, and like this would be the way that he would smash. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, my highest with Kyle Shanahan calling the plays, and my highest owned quarterback is set up for this situation, and he broke his ankle in week in week 3, and he didn't even give me a ceiling performance before he played in a monsoon and then was totally average before he was out of here. It's like, it's easy to say the injury the injured guys, but I agree that Javonte is tough. Trey Lance is tough. Looking like you look back and like, God, man, like if you could replace, like I said, I have a CMC Chubb Saquon robust running back team that is like, that has great, literally good, like it's loaded. It's one of my best BBM 3 teams, and it has Trey Lance. Like it has Ayuk. It was a Lance Ayuk stack, which Ayuk looks amazing. And it has CMC for extra 49ers. It's like, you look back on that, and it is what it is. That's
QB on that team.
Daniel Jones.
Oh no.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. If we had even if I had like Fields, I would say like, okay, maybe I got a shot, but it doesn't have a shot. But the bags are tough. This just is what it is. That's the part of taking stands, I think.
I have 2 awards I'm going to fly through real quick. That I didn't share with you. I have the You Kind of Tried award, and that's the Arizona Cardinals. They kind of tried to do something with this offense. Didn't work. Kind of tried. Didn't fully try. Kind of tried. And the team I'm most looking forward to next year award, which is after today, the Jacksonville Jaguars. That team.
Oh yeah, Ridley. Yeah. We didn't talk about him yet.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley, ETN. I don't think I was fully wrong on him yet. I'm not willing to say that I would have still been comfortable drafting 3rd round ETN at the moment. Probably going to be changing by the end of the year. But looking to next year, when you have Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, possibly Evan Ingram. I don't know what his contract deal is over there.
1 year, but still.
But they can probably get him. Zay, like that offense, I think is going to be our most hyped offense in the offseason next year.
Yep. Everybody's going to love Josh Norris. Shout out to Josh from Underdog. I know he's a big Lawrence fan. Mm-hmm. You put Calvin Ridley out there and Christian Kirk out there and these guys out there with Lawrence. Josh is going to love him some Lawrence. Can I throw one into the for next year? I really like the Jags one, but it's the Lions. It's the Lions for me. Mm-hmm. Getting rid of Hawk is whatever. He's just like, he's a dude to me. Swift, Amon-Ra, Jameson Williams. Is DJ Chark just a 1 year? I think he's just a 1 year.
Yeah, I think he's a 1 year deal.
But I think they're setting themselves up to get one of these quarterbacks, and I think they're just going to load up. I think next year is going to be we've probably been waiting for the Lions. We've been waiting for Swift. Amon-Ra is still going to be good, but I think the whole Lions are scary because they might shut it down later in this best ball season. And I think next year is going to be we're going to be really excited about it might even be like a golf transition to a CJ Stroud or something, but I think we're going to be excited. And the how about what was the first one? Thanks for trying or something
You Kind of Tried award.
This would be my pivot to you never tried. The Houston Texans.
Yeah.
What the fuck, man? Why show up? Just forfeit. They're not even fucking trying, dude. They're just handing it off to Dameon Pierce 20 times and pretending oh, look, we found our running back of the future. Congratulations. You found a running back of the future. And you didn't trade Brandon Cooks. Why did you not trade Brandon Cooks? You're the worst team in the NFL, and he wants to be gone. He tweeted about it. It's an absolute. They're an absolute joke.
They have been for years.
If you're gonna rebuild, at least the Oklahoma City Thunder, for any NBA fan, they have let their intentions be known. You draft Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in an NBA basketball, you know what you got yourself into, right? The Texans are they just sit here and fuck around the whole season. And you didn't trade Brandon. You're tanking, obviously. And you didn't trade Brandon Cooks. What are we doing here? What is the point of this entire season? Just forfeit, show up next year, let all your shitty division opponents get a win and move on. There's no reason for them to even play the games. It's pathetic. At least the other teams, the Lions, these bad teams, they battle. Dude, the Lions don't quit ever. The Texans show up and it's fucking over before the game even starts. You thought last year was bad. This year with the Texans, even worse. It's worse. They used to have Deshaun. They're 2 years removed from having Deshaun Watson and Will Fuller, DeAndre Hopkins, and all these guys. And now they might as well quit every single game. The Texans make football worse for all of us.
Did you see what this week's Thursday night football game is?
Yeah, the Eagles are going to hang 60. The Eagles are going to hang. If Sirianni gives a shit, he'll hang 60 on these losers. The Texans are pathetic.
They're pretty bad, and they've been bad since the Bill O'Brien trades. Remember when they traded 15 first-round picks to the Dolphins? That was egregious. I'm glad I'm not a Houston Texans fan. I'm glad
I feel bad. I do feel bad for the Texans fans.
Yeah, they're getting shafted, and it's going to be years before they can dig out of this hole.
5 years, probably. Yeah,
right. And like you said, they got a running back. Great. By the time you're ready to do anything, he's going to be a dust ball, right? There's no point to have that position.
If 3 more years of Dameon Pierce, they're not going to be good in 3 years.
Right. That's the point. And it sucks for him. Right? Like it sucks for him too. It's a bad situation all around. The Will Fuller comments in the chat for like biggest
good.
bag is a good one, but we've established that he's not a real person, so we can't really pick him. So yeah.
I think that's it. Any kind of closing award thoughts or whatever? You tossed your last one. You're kind of off the cuff ones, and I don't think I have anything.
You talked about your best scoring best ball team. I'm sad because mine has Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and I was really, really hoping for that Hunt trade for that team.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. I'm fine for it.
I'm excited. I'm excited to. I'm just excited to kind of do this show again. We started a show today that was like I said, a best ball review on at lunchtime on Tuesdays. So the week will wrap up, and I'll get in and I'll pull up some of my teams and review. Right. So like 1 week the Josh Jacobs teams might get reviewed, and then this week we don't want to look at the Josh Jacobs teams because he scored 5 points. We want to look at the We want to look at the CMC teams. This week I want to look at the Kadarius Toney teams after he gets traded. We'll have people from the chat posting their teams. So if you want to join us Tuesdays at lunchtime to hang out and kind of walk through some teams, talk about some of the most notable players, I'm excited to do that moving forward. But kind of piggybacking on that with this show, like, we're 2 months away from knowing how this whole thing's going to play out. And like, I'm just fascinated to see what we said, week 18, what are we saying about a lot of the stuff that we talked about today? Because at the end of the day, it's all binary.
Mm-hmm.
You made the finals or you didn't. And then once you made the finals, did you have Jamar Chase? Oh, you didn't? Tough shit. Move on to 2023, And so that whole part of this game is so fascinating to me. Like, it's fun to talk about it week to week. The roller coaster is crazy. You have Josh Jacobs for those first 3 weeks. You don't feel very good. You have Josh Jacobs for the next 3 weeks. You feel like, you're
top of the world.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're going to get to week 17. If he sucks, you don't care again. And it's like that whole part of the game is just absolutely the most fascinating part to me. So that's what we're going to try to dig into more, I think, over the course of these next couple of months, is kind of, can we learn something from this roller coaster? You know what I mean? Like, right. We're all tilting or celebrating like Sunday was the greatest Sunday of the week, or it's greatest Sunday of the year for me. All these late round running backs are smashing. Everything worked. Kyle Pitts finally had a good game. It was awesome. But like, does that really mean anything to our win equity? I don't know. And so we're going to try to figure that out here.
Yeah. We're going to crack the code by the end of next year, and we're going to win every tournament.
Exactly.
All right. So for myself, for Erik Beimfohr, for these MVP and all the other mid-year best ball awards, we will catch you next week. Peace.